I've mentioned before that wounds from the mother is something that is not talked about often. We often talk about daddy issues and how our fathers neglect us and how our fathers cause issues, but it's not talked about enough about how our mothers affect us. And we don't talk enough about the mothers and what they can do to us and the damage they can cause, especially how awful it is and damaging it is to have an emotionally unavailable mother. You would think that the person that gave birth to you or the mother that decided to adopt you would give you the most love, but that's not always the circumstance. Women are naturally known to be the nurturers, the caretakers, the ones that soothe you when you're having a bad day or hold you when you're scared. But some women in their upbringing have been shamed and then they lose that ability to be emotionally available. A natural mother's love doesn't counteract their own traumas and their own wounds that they have endured over their lifespan. So the role of the mother is to be the nurturer, the one that's supposed to make you feel safe and okay. They are supposed to be the one that's compassionate and is supposed to be your biggest supporter and your biggest cheerleader, and the one that is supposed to make you feel loved. They are supposed to teach you how to regulate your emotions and how to build yourself up and how to validate yourself. They're supposed to teach you how to find your voice and how to have relationships. Emotionally unavailable mothers don't cater to these needs, and they hurt your growth by using shame to guide you, and they push their discomforts and wounds onto you. So an emotionally unavailable mother is not able to provide that nurturing that you need. They are not able to validate you, or they're not able to emotionally support you. Oftentimes your physical needs will be met, your clothes, you're fed, they help you with your homework, things like that. They attend to the physical needs, but emotionally they are pretty dismissive and distant. They don't naturally show a ton of interest in your dreams, your hobbies, your goals, your thoughts, your values, what's going on in your day-to-day life, your friends, your favorite color even. Generally, you'll notice these moms care more about image and making everything feel comfortable. They care more about you physically being okay and you making her look good rather than you emotionally being okay. These mothers, there's a lot of shame when it comes to emotions. So because of this shame, they'll project the shame onto you and they will punish you when you show any type of negative emotion. They will pay no mind. They may mock you when you're showing an emotion. They may get angry at you for showing an emotion. They will dismiss you when you show an emotion. They may give you silent treatment or ignore you when you show emotions. They are not there for you when you need it, and they have no clue how to handle your emotions. There's this emotional distance, and they are not very affectionate towards you. There can feel like this coldness coming from them often, and it may be hard to know what's going on in their mind because they don't vocalize how they're feeling or express any type of emotion on their end. You can sense when probably something's a little bit off with them because they can't, no human is perfect and they can fully suppress and hide everything, but you don't know exactly what's going through their mind. And so you're always trying to read and identify, what is my mom feeling and experiencing? But oftentimes you'll see a brick wall, or you'll experience a brick wall, and it generally can feel pretty uncomfortable and you'll feel unease. The reason why these moms, the emotionally unavailable moms, are emotionally unavailable because of their own unresolved traumas. They're brought up to feel unheard and unseen. If they ever spoke up, they noticed they dealt with negative consequences, so they then were suppressed and learned to be helpless and to just stay quiet. And because they were taught this helplessness, they didn't learn the proper life skills and tools like setting boundaries, like speaking up, like attending to their needs. And so then this resulted in them often becoming a victim to their circumstances. And then they allow things to just happen, and they teach that to you, to let things just happen. And that's where the passive part comes in, is they will passively go through life and they teach you how to be very passive. So oftentimes when things happen, you will see your mom often blame herself or even put the blame on you, of just saying like, oh, you just need to be patient, you need to be calm, or it's not that big of a deal. And they'd often dismiss and not hold the other person accountable, but more so make you feel like you were accountable and you had to attend to the other person's needs, even though the other person was dead wrong. So this often can make you feel yourself unheard and unseen, just like your emotionally unavailable mother feels. Aside from that, there's so many other different ways having an emotionally unavailable mom will affect you. One being poor emotional regulation. So like I had mentioned, your mom is there to teach you how to regulate your emotions. When we come out of the womb, when we are children, we don't know how to regulate our emotions. We feel all these sensations going on in our body. We don't know what is correct or how to handle life. You know, we're on this big ball, this moving ball. We don't know what's going on. All we know is we feel a sensation and we just release it. So our moms are supposed to be the ones that teaches us, hey, you know, this is your emotion and this is how you cope with it, and it's completely normal to have these emotions. But when you have an emotionally unavailable mom, you don't learn how to regulate your emotions. You more so learn how to suppress your emotions. And so when you're taught to suppress your emotions, not only do you experience anxiety and depression, but you often can be secretly angry, or you can be someone that has an attitude, or you can get very angry at the smallest thing. You have a lot of anger built inside of you. That anger comes from not being able to naturally express this energy that's inside of you. But because you were taught to suppress your emotions, there's that shame behind it and you feeling that you are not allowed to express this anger. So that's why it will come out in other ways, or you will secretly just be an angry person. But generally, it can be pretty hidden. Emotions can feel very uncomfortable for you, and you may notice you will avoid this type of discomfort, and you will often find things to distract yourself, and often you will be uncomfortable around other people and their emotions when they're sad, when they're angry, or when they're expressing any type of negative emotion that makes you feel uncomfortable. So you will try to suppress them and say, hey, you know, don't behave like that, don't act like that, or, you know, just ignore it, just deal with it. And because you weren't taught how to regulate your emotions, you weren't taught how to self-soothe, and then you naturally don't feel safe in the world. So you may struggle a lot with feeling unsafe or feeling uncertain and feeling uncomfortable and out of control in your day-to-day life because of the lack of being able to regulate your emotions. And you're always doing this dance of trying to avoid your emotions or trying to suppress them, or feeling shame and uncomfortable when you do have a negative emotion. You will notice that you have a bad relationship with how you feel about your body or how you feel about yourself. Emotionally unavailable mothers can often put emphasis on how you look. Like I mentioned, they care very much so about the image aspect because there's a lot of shame. And what does shame mean? Shame has to do with how other people view you. And shame was an important part of their childhood. That's how they were guided, and they guide you through that shame. And through that shame is how you look and how you are presented to the outside world. And they taught you get validation through how you look. Your mom may not have given you compliments or acknowledged you as a person, but they probably would randomly give you validation for how you looked. Oh, your hair looks nice like that. Oh, that's a pretty outfit. You know, they may have given you random compliments here and there. And so that small validation you got, you held on to that for dear life, and you were taught, okay, the only way I will get some sort of praise or validation is when I appear a certain way. And if I don't appear that way, I'll get criticized. They may comment on your weight. They may comment on your eating. They may comment on how messy you look. And so there's this importance that is placed on your image and how you look. Not only that, but also on the things that you achieve as well. So, you know, are you becoming that doctor? Are you getting really good grades? Are you on the right path according to them? And so that's why often a lot of us with emotionally unavailable moms will have eating disorders, whether it's a binging disorder, whether it's you count calories, whether that's you have anorexia, whatever it is, you will have an unhealthy relationship with food, or you may have an unhealthy relationship with food because of this, partially because it gives you some sort of control, because you feel lack of control in your life from having a mom that is not attending to your needs, but also because that is how you sustain that connection with your mom, is by looking a certain way. Often you may notice through your childhood and adulthood, you will feel low about yourself because of this lack of getting any type of validation or love from your mother. And this causes feelings of feeling unwanted and unloved. And then you feel it a hole inside of you. And that hole is the lack of love and validation from your mom, and also the lack of you having that self-love for yourself, because you weren't taught how to love yourself from your mom not properly loving you and teaching you how to love yourself. And with this hole, you will try to fulfill it through going through relationships, through sex, through that eating, through constantly distracting yourself, through drugs, whatever it is, and you're constantly trying to fill that hole. And you'll notice it may be filled temporarily. You get into a new relationship, it's so exciting, they're so loving, and then over time it goes away. That feeling of the hole being filled goes away, because that hole is not, that's just a band-aid. The hole is not really being filled and healed, because really what you need is to heal those inner childs, the lack of feeling worthy, the lack of love. You will also notice that you have a hard time forming healthy relationships. So when it comes to relationships, the base of a healthy relationship is trust and being able to be vulnerable with them. And those are two things that were taken away from you because of you having an emotionally unavailable mother. In your childhood, trust is something that is given to your mom. You trust your mother when you are a baby. You trust that they will keep you safe. You trust that they will nurture you and cater to you and feed you and all those things. You trust that. And then based on how the mother, the parent, acts towards their baby, the relationship either gets stronger or it is broken over time. Every time the mom emotionally abandons that baby, that child, the trust is broken more and more. And so then that child learns, okay, this is how my mom is, so other relationships must be just like this. And I know, since I couldn't trust my mom, I probably can't trust anyone else, because my mom is, you know, my world, my everything. And if I can't trust her, then no one else's trust is worthy of trust and can't be trusted. So now you will expect everyone to be similar to your mom. This disappointment, this person who casts a lot of shame, this person who is very emotionally distant. And then you feel like you can't open up to others. You can't be vulnerable, you can't trust anyone. Emotions are something to be embarrassed by. Can't be vulnerable, you expect the worst from others, and you always expect to be let down. So you may notice when you go into relationships, friendships, partnerships, romantic relationships, whatever it is, you immediately will have your guard up. And it may take a while to form trust, if any, with people. And it's so hard for you to be vulnerable. It takes a lot of work to be able to be vulnerable with someone. You have to be aware of the fact that you're not able to be vulnerable with other people, that you have a hard time sharing your ideas and your values and your opinions and all those things. You have to become aware, and if you're not aware, then you just will coast through life having very surface level relationships, or you'll always come from a place of trying to protect yourself and expecting shit to hit the fan, and then when it does, you're like, oh, I already knew this was going to happen, and you move on, and you may go from relationship to relationship, or you may be in a long-term relationship where it doesn't get very deep and you feel unfulfilled. Vulnerability may be something that makes you incredibly uncomfortable, and something that feels dangerous, and something you have to steer away from. Another thing you may notice is that you often feel helpless. And like I mentioned, this helplessness is a learned helplessness. So there could be situations where you could get yourself out of it, but you don't know how, because you were taught to have that victim mentality where you are a victim to your circumstances and nothing will get better. You just have to wait around for things to change. This comes from not being taught how to speak up, or actually the opposite of being taught to stay quiet. So when you're taught to stay quiet, you're like, okay, I guess I never have a say in things. And when you feel like you don't have a say in things, you naturally feel helpless and you feel like a victim to your circumstances. This can cause you to struggle with problem solving. Or you may notice you don't try to take care of things, or you'll procrastinate things. You don't know what to do, so you just wait until it gets better. And that's a mentality your mom kind of put on you. Oh, just wait, it will work out. Everything will work out in the end. Things don't just work out. We have to do something. You know, your mom didn't encourage you to take a stand and to make things happen if there's a problem going on in your life. And so this helplessness, this procrastination can cause you to feel very anxious and like you can never, or things in life can't get better, or they are just meant to be shitty for you. You are taught that you have to wait on others or for things to change rather than for you to make a change. And our moms are supposed to be the ones that do teach us. Dads do as well, but moms are there to teach us, hey, you know, you got to stick up for yourself, or hey, you know, you are worthy of better in life. You know, you need to set boundaries. They're supposed to be there to teach you boundaries, and you are not taught how to have those boundaries. And part of boundaries and learning when to set boundaries comes from feeling like you need to protect yourself, and from feeling that things are unfair. And when you are taught this helplessness, you are taught not to feel like things are unfair, but to just deal with it. Take it and deal with it. The next thing, which may turn some people off, but hear me out, you may notice you're kind of manipulative, or you have some manipulative tactics, or tendencies rather. So this is very common. I notice this happens a lot, especially in men that have emotionally unavailable moms, or ones who do have more of the mommy issues, is that manipulation. So manipulation is a tactic that is used to survive. In childhood, if you feel like you can't get your needs met by speaking out, and you notice you can say something without saying it, aka manipulating others to get your needs met, then you are going to do that often. You are taught, okay, I can't outright say what I need because it will result in something negative. I won't be heard. There's some sort of punishment. Okay, so I can't outright say it. I still have this need. It needs to be met. I still need a hug. I still need, you know, to get validation somehow. So instead of, you know, I notice I can't get it out right, so now I'm going to twist my words or do something to get this person to attend to me. So then you do that in all your relationships. You manipulate different scenarios, different things. You don't outright say things. You more so try to make people feel a certain way, so that way they will give it to you without you having to say something. And this can be hard because then it teaches people that they can't really trust you, or then they feel taken advantage of, or they feel manipulated. And you may notice with your emotionally unavailable mom, she may also have been a manipulative person, where she was pretty manipulative towards you, and that's also some way that you learned it, is through watching her with other people or watching her with you. So really what you needed was to be validated and heard, and to be told, hey, it's okay to have this need or to ask this thing, and then be given it. Not all the time, because, you know, you can need attention but your mom maybe can't give it to you at the time, but enough where it doesn't cause some sort of emotional damage. So if you notice some of these manipulative tendencies, you notice that you don't outright ask for things, or you try to twist things so that way you can get what you want, recognize that. You're not a bad person. Just recognize that and be like, okay, I notice I do more manipulative things, and I need to learn how to ask more for what I need, and also accept no. And that's the thing, is you felt ashamed if you were told no, and because you were told no so often. And so you have to learn how to be okay with no, and it's not rejection towards you. It's just sometimes in life we are told no. As a helpless child, when you're told no too often, you then feel in danger and feel threatened, and so you get uncomfortable with the word no. Another big thing that you may notice is you will crave external validation. So again, you know, like we talked about, you didn't get that validation in childhood, so what are you going to do when you don't get validation in childhood, which is supposed to teach you how to validate yourself? You're going to get it from outside circumstances, which goes into some people pleasing. So you may have codependency, where you feel validated by helping and taking care of other people. You may get validation by hooking up with a lot of people and through having a lot of sex. When it comes to external validation, what you will notice, what's the negative of only needing of using outside validation to feel good, is that when something negative happens, it will affect you really, really badly. So you'll feel really down. When something good happens, you feel amazing. So it's very much so a roller coaster, where it depends on outside circumstances. Your mood depends on outside circumstances. And really what the core problem is, that you feel such worthlessness from lack of validation. You felt neglected and unseen by your emotionally unavailable mother. And this can cause you to struggle with self-identity from lack of direction and validation, and from not knowing how to speak up or how to ask for your needs. So that's why it's so important for you to learn how to validate yourself, and not just seek the outside or the external validation to feel good. And it's so important to break that cycle, because you've probably seen with your mom too, is that outside circumstances, external validation affected her a lot, or lack of external validation and getting validation from external sources affected her. Another thing you may notice is you make excuses for others' bad behavior, especially your partners. This especially comes from when you have a passive mom. They will make excuses. You'll see them often make excuses for your dad or their partner. And anytime you try to speak up or you have a voice, they'll dismiss you. And like I said, you know, make it feel like, or make it seem like it's your fault and you need to just relax. Or anytime something happened with someone else, your mom would take this same approach of being very passive in those situations and not speaking up. So now same thing with you, is that you will take too much accountability in situations and blame yourself and really not blame your partner or the other person, or be able to delegate responsibility of recognizing where you're in the wrong in situations and when they're in the wrong in situations. You'll notice you'll solely take it on yourself. And you may also make excuses for bad behavior because this is the way you coped with your emotionally unavailable mom and her bad behavior. It hurts so much seeing your mom behave the way she did that you would make excuses for her to be able to cope with the fact that your mom wasn't the best mom. And that hurts to acknowledge that or to admit that out loud, because we don't want to see our parents as bad, because then the world feels a little bit more dangerous. If we see our parents as bad, then what is safe anymore? You know, because our parents are supposed to be the ones that keep us safe. So it can be hard to come to that realization and conclusion of like, no, like they can have bad behavior and it's okay for me to admit they had bad behavior. Their best isn't always their best. And the last major one is you will sacrifice yourself for others. And this goes into that codependency. You may notice you will overly cater to others and you will lose yourself through catering to others. You have a hard time with self-identity, and this comes from the lack of validation and direction from your emotionally unavailable mom. You had no idea how to speak up. She didn't teach you how to speak up or ask you for what you need. All you knew and all you saw what your mom did is always sacrificing herself or not making the best decisions for herself. And so you saw that and you were taught that, and then you do the same thing for yourself. Your life, it has become what is best for others and what they need rather than what you need. And you may have no idea what you need. If someone were to ask you, like if you were feeling down, someone to ask you, hey, what do you need right now? You would be like, I have no idea. I don't even know what a need is. Or you will dismiss your needs and be like, I don't need anything. I'm fine. I can, deal with it. It's going to get better on its own. Everything's going to be okay. You don't have that self-awareness of being able to be like, okay, this is what's going on. There's an actual problem and this is what I need to do about it. Instead, you will put other people before yourself and take care of them and make sure they're good before you ever make sure you're good. And then you give out of an empty wagon, and you notice you'll often feel exhausted and burnt out. Having an emotionally unavailable mom can be really painful because you often see like on TV these mother-daughter relationships and their bond, and it can hurt because you don't get to experience that with your mom, because your mom is like ice cold, or she is just dismissive and distant, and you can't get through to her because of all these buried wounds and this shame. So there's a lot of healing that needs to take place, and a lot of loving on yourself and inner child work that needs to take place, which I will leave my playlist right here on healing those mother wounds. Okay, so what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Anybody here watching season 4 of Love is Blind? I have psychoanalyzed every character and I have so many things to say, but I don't know if you guys would care if I did a video on that. Leave a comment down below if you want me to do reaction videos. That was really corny.